So moving on with things in our drive to get our last few remaining outstanding orders finished up. Here is a video of Mike Rouse's Slimline Master. A few people have been asking to see this complete. We've just taken some high-res photos of it, so you'll get to see those soon. What's quite unique about this machine is that Mike managed to design his own artwork. Now, I don't know whether it was actually intentional or not, but he did want a look similar to the Neo Geo, and what he's done is he's taken a red background for most of the artwork. If you look at the fine details, you'll see that there's a winning pose for Ryu from Street Fighter. There's the Joust character, I do believe there. Pac-Man, the Ghost, all in the fine artwork there. That continues along the control panel, and he's done a similar thing with the side artwork, adding some custom motifs or logos of his own. It's been very nicely done. It's quite simple, even though it's all done in kind of grey scale, or should I say red scale. It's come out very nicely, and what we've got is a look very similar to the original Neo Geo arcade cabinets. Now, a lot of us won't have seen original Neo Geo cabinets in this country, more likely cabinets that would support them, but that weren't the original large red Neo Geo cabs. So it is nice that this customer has gone for something a bit more original and trying to make something a bit more unique. What is quite cleverly done as well, because of the widescreen monitor creating a large space around the bezel area, he's designed a bezel that frames it a bit better and then gives more of a generic arcade look with the left player, right player direction thing there. Fairly straightforward, but it works, and it extends the artwork to the bezel as well, so it all goes really well together. Now, what he's done for the buttons, he's also gone with a Neo Geo look here by having red, yellow, green and blue all on the same panel. Obviously there's 6 buttons, so it was a bit trickier to kind of work out the best way to do it, but he's done it with the top row of red buttons, and then with the yellow, green and blue underneath, and then we've just got white buttons for the front there. Unusually on this one, he's kept the admin buttons in black to keep them blended into the machine, I do believe, so those aren't lit at all. He's also got the coin mechanism on there. Now, a lot of people ask about this. The coin mechanism, it's a comparative coin mech, so it doesn't use a credit board, which a lot of the generic arcade cabinets do. The problem is with building PC-based systems is that the interfaces are usually dependent on 5-volt coin signals. Now, original arcade hardware would have been dependent on 12-volt signals. So even though a lot of people do it, it isn't an ideal solution to attach genuine arcade coin mechanisms to a PC or to a PC interface, because all it will take is one small surge and it will damage your interface permanently. And this coin mechanism being a comparative mech, it means that you can put in any coin that is the same size of, same or similar size to the one inside there, and it will add credits. So it is functional, but it is mostly cosmetic. It's not something you could use in a commercial setting, which is exactly how we wanted it, because we don't believe these type of machines should be used in a commercial setting, and it's why we actively discourage it. But it does mean that if you're at home, you could set the mechanism to have a very slack recognition system with a turn of a dial on the back, and basically it will accept any coin you want as a credit. It won't be cumulative and you won't get bonuses for putting in such a certain value, but it means that if you've got a bit of spare change in your pocket, you want an authentic thing, or you're using it as a piggy bank for yourself, any coins you've got available can be used to add credits. Of course, we've also got credit buttons on the front, and that ensures that it can't be used in a commercial setting as well. So there's the machine anyway. This machine has got quite a few extras. We've got the lit buttons, we've got Samwell joysticks, the back tops for once. Everyone tends to go with the ball tops, but the back tops are just as good. 22-inch LCD monitor, which, as you can see me stood in front of it now, is plenty big enough for the average person. Just take a quick look around this side at the artwork. You'll see the red extends down. Now inside this one we've also got the dual core PC. Now a lot of people again have been asking about this. Is it readily available now? Can we have it in any machine? Is this software as perfect as your other systems? The short answer is yes. It is ready. What you get is you get a Core 2 Duo dual core PC. It's along the similar hardware line and BIOS line as our other PCs, but it's got a dual core 2.2 GHz processor, which again, with our modifications, we've squeezed out as much performance as we can from that. Also with this one we've got the addition of a NVIDIA GeForce graphics card. It will not always be the same card, but it will be similar. It will be of an equivalent spec. It'll be a 1 gig graphics card, and the intention of that is to be able to handle the direct 3D processing of the more advanced platforms on there. Also run a later build of MAME in here, which at the moment we've got 0.143 I think, and the main reason being that a lot of people want to be able to now start to run the more advanced PC games. Obviously you've got the Street Fighter 4, Super Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter X Tekken, which we're looking to kind of put a few additional files in and add that sort of run straight from the arcade menu system as we want. And we're also looking at Taito Type X Arcade, but those won't be ready just yet. At the moment now, we have added a couple of extra platforms that are the Atari Jaguar and Sega Saturn. It should be capable of running Dreamcast as well, but that really is, a lot of people ask about how far our systems can go, and more now we're being asked about emulating 6th and 7th generation consoles. And although it is possible now, I mean with the maturity of the Dolphin emulator, you can now emulate GameCube and Wii almost flawlessly on a quad-core PC. Those type of systems aren't really suited to the arcade environment because of the need for analog control and various other features that you will only really be able to squeeze out of top-end, very, very expensive hardware. You'd also need special controls and things like that. And in our opinion, it's just not worth the extra expense. We found the middle ground, and even we didn't want to go up to a dual core, but we've conceded and accepted that there are some excellent fighters that are perfect for an arcade environment, which is the main reason we came up with a dual core and refined the spec, and it's the main reason it's taken us over 12 months to release the dual core spec officially. The PC will include a 250 gigabyte hard drive as well. This gives plenty of extra space for future expansion. Obviously, if you're adding big PC games, you're going to need that extra space. There will be around 80 to 100 gigabytes spare space on that once our installation is done with. So if you want to add anything of your own, you're perfectly welcome to. There's enough space to do it. And again, if you want to add jukebox music and things like that, there's tons of space readily available. The dual core PC upgrade as it stands is set at £200. Now that is quite a pricey addition to any machine, so I would advise anybody who's considering having a machine and are thinking about having a dual core PC just for bragging rights, it's more important to think about the type of games you want to play rather than the addition of one or two games that you might not play. If there's more advanced PC games like Street Fighter 4 and things like that, if it's not your era, don't bother. It's not worth the extra expense. £200 is a lot of money, especially when you consider the relative price of our machines is fairly low. £200 is a lot of money, but if you are a kind of next-gen gamer, perhaps you're a younger person or you want it for kids who are into the next-gen consoles, then by all means consider it. It is a good addition and it does bring something new to the table. You did see briefly flash up there the screensaver. That's something I forgot to disable. I'll quickly do that after I've recorded this video, but besides that, this machine is complete. What we're going to do is we're going to quickly fire up a couple of games to show you the performance of this one. First of all, we've got Vendetta, another great Konami co-op brawl game in the same vein as Double Dragon, you know, Final Fight. Obviously Konami had the Turtles and Simpsons games, very similar game. There is a 4-player version of this if you have the 4-player machine as well, but this is just the 2-player I'm running. And as you can see, this is running just fine. Like I say, this is the latest. This is a much later version of MAME after they revised the graphics and sound core. So there are some games that will run a lot better, and there's obviously expansion. There's room for expansion there if you want to go to the very latest version and keep your MAME versions up to date. So you can see that's running just fine. I'll come out of that. It's nothing I haven't seen before. And we'll just go to a couple of the more advanced things on here. Like I say, we showed these in other videos, but it's worth showing them again on here all in one place, along with a bit more info. I've decided I need to be a bit more detailed with the information because the volume of emails we get is quite large. I do tend to waffle on, but you must forgive me because we do everything custom. Every email we get is different, and I get reams and reams of emails, and a lot of them ask the same questions. And even though I'd like to be able to give a standard answer, I do need to vary it up a bit, but hopefully doing more detailed videos like this will answer people's questions while at the same time having something to look at and use as a basis for comparison. So what we've got running here is Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition. Hoping to upgrade this to the 2012 update very soon, which apparently gives a more balanced game and evens out some of the unfairness of the original. So I'm going to quickly show you this running. And again, as you can see now, this runs absolutely perfectly at 1280 by 720 resolution, which for everyone's all about HD these days. That resolution is absolutely plenty. The graphics are crisp, the animation is smooth, all the shading and pixel effects are there, so why do you need anything higher? And you can see that there, that's me trying to control it with my left hand, but that's running just fine. So we'll come out of that. We've got the Streets of Rage remake on here. This is an absolutely brilliant game. I don't think I've actually showed this game running on any video so far, so I'm quickly going to go into a game and show you what it's involved. Now, I've opened all the extras and everything on it. This is a fan-made game based on the original Streets of Rage games 1, 2 and 3, and you can basically, it's got all the characters available, all the variations of them available from each of the different games, and you can pick any route from any of the first 3 games. All the levels have been redone. Now if I remember the controls correctly, I think if I press select, you'll see Axel change to Streets of Rage 1 version, Streets of Rage 2 version and the Streets of Rage 3 version. You can do that for all the characters that applies to. You can also change their colours by one of these buttons. There we go, which is quite cool. there's a new story being brought in, and there's also a new route being put in as well. See, that's the Streets of Rage 3 map, I believe. That's the original one. That's a unique one. There's Streets of Rage 1 map. If I quickly go into this, I can show you this game running. There you go, you can see the level 1 being redone. It feels identical to it. This isn't a bad hack, this isn't like Beats of Rage. This is a completely redone game. It's all been redone by a fan. It took him 5 years to do. The gameplay mechanics are very much the same as the Mega Drive original. Got a few new moves thrown in there. It's a very, very complete game. There's no major bugs or anything to speak of. It's an excellent two-player game, and I recommend anyone who has a dual core to give this a whirl more than once. Okay. Then we've got Saturn. We'll quickly show Jaguar first. And you'll see we've got Atari Jaguar running. Now Atari Jaguar, like I say, as we move into more advanced platforms, the emulation is good, fast, but not quite as accurate and not without a few flaws. For example, on this you'll notice at the top that the display doesn't quite extend to the top of the screen. Now that's not a fault of our emulation or our system, that is just as far as Jaguar emulation went. Jaguar emulation was a very tricky thing to do, and the projects have not been maintained in the same way as other ones have. And it's a shame because there are some fantastic games on these systems, and it would have been nice to be able to play them more often. But there's the compatibility rate's not as high, but some of the more important games like this Tempest 2000, absolutely fantastic game. So that's Atari Jaguar, and we'll quickly go into Saturn. Now, Saturn's is an exception to the rule in that it uses a different control scheme to the rest, and the way we've set it up, it flashes a different control set to the interface before it loads each game, so it does take a couple of seconds more to launch. Once it's up, again it runs just fine. You can see there it rendering the 3D effects. Get the ship flying. Radiant Silver Gun. As an original game, Radiant Silver Gun, as I believe, is the rarest and most expensive Saturn game to own. Going for several £100 on places like eBay. So to be able to play it is a rare treat, and to be able to play it with arcade controls is an excellent thing. Right. That's about as much as I need to show you. Everything else on there is very similar to our other systems, but that is Mike Rouse's completed Slimline Master. We welcome any comments or suggestions, and if you want to leave any praise, please do so on the YouTube video or on our Facebook page.